funding programs. And I would like to start by giving the word to Yigang Li, expert from the UN Environment, everyone Data Analytics branch. Please, Yigang, present us the One Map initiative and also where you see that this audience here, young people from around the world, can create value with the tools that you are having. And I will give you also the HDMI cable, HDMI. And I give you also the microphone. Choose the mirror or extend the screen. Full screen or the
Perfect. So, hello guys. My name is Yigang Li. I'm the advisor for to the chair of the UN Geospatial Network and also the program management associate for early warning and the data analytics branch under the early warning and assessment division of UNEP based in Nairobi Station. Today, kindly allow me to introduce our one of the flagship initiative called the One Map, One Humanity that was kickstarted with the UN Geospatial Network, which is 42 UN agencies. So what is One Map? It came up with the idea initially when different agencies in the past 3 years started to use the geospatial language as the common data language to map out their project issues, their project proposal, and also the hotspot on their mandate. And then starting to have this kind of hard time to exchange the data between the UN agencies. And that's where the intention of creating the One Map came from. Now, currently we have 42 UN agencies under the geospatial network. And we started to working with each one of them, remove the data boundary, try not to duplicate the efforts of collecting the same type of the data. So for example, I'm from UNEP and I need data to population data to do the foresight of the climate refugee. What is climate refugee means? It is, for example, in Mozambique, every year repeatedly, the tropical cyclone hit the coastal cities, and the residents there, the citizens there, they lost their livelihood, and then they have no place to live. They became the climate refugee. They have to migrate themselves to somewhere in the land to protect their livelihood in a way. And this is a climate refugee. And we do have the data, and we spend almost $1 million to collect the data. But actually, at the end of the day, we talk with UNICEF. They already have the data already, which is 5 years ago, and also they do this kind of yearly round update, much more than what we have. So from that point, we were thinking there might be a good time to unify the geospatial language across the agencies to manage to use the budget that from public sector in a much more meaningful way. And we do have the 5 pillars of the UN mandate covered by One Map: humanitarian action, peace and security, human rights, international rule of law, and sustainable development. Before we got to the strategy of the One Map itself, we have to consider the upstream UN data strategy. So we launched a different data strategy UN-wide from the top level. So we prioritize 3 parts of the project's goal impacting countries. Most of our mandate stop at the national level, and we do not go to the ground level, which is not the best way for us to monitor the service supply chain. So normally we interact with the national government to do the policy and governance framework consultation, and they will stop there. And we allow them to do the groundwork, and we do not have the mandate to monitor the process, and we do not know at the end of the day if that policy actually works. So we prioritize this impacting countries. and at the local level, which is the left corner, you will see focus on the youth group and local community. That's why also the reason that we present this project at this forum here. And of course, the accelerating SDGs localization. The one map is a combination of the digital infrastructure and physical infrastructure. One map can be seen as a simple mapping system like Google Map, but using the geospatial intelligence part. Near real-time data, which is keep the world under review, is more like a data warehouse. Like I said, across 42 UN agencies, they all gotta put the data in one warehouse, and any agency under this agreement could withdraw this data and could match this data and could use the data for any kind of analysis for their own purpose under their own mandate at their will. And second part is the analytics. The analytics is more is the part that's really closely work with the citizen science. And that's the part that we introduced the collective intelligence in. And this is the part that we branded as cloud computation system. You have the data, and the general public could realize the data, but what if you want to get some insight from there? Do they really have very simple, like ASRI, everybody knows that ASRI to the ArcGIS, that they have this kind of like service, but you do have to have a membership, and that costs you a lot of money. But for general public who do not have the expertise as a geospatial scientist, can you still do analysis? And then that's why the one map came in and give you the package as the free analytics computing package for you to put the layers in as you selected and constitute the conclusion that might contribute to your research. And later I will use some demo to demonstrate that. And then call for action, which is also very crucial part for us as well. It's not only call for the action of the UN, but call for the action across sectors. This window gives us a very resilient, what we call the multi-stakeholder trust funding mechanism. That allows the public sector payment, which is getting harder and harder, because simply speaking, working with the UN, collaborating with the UN, you have to do a very long time due diligence. And during that period for 2 or 3 years, most of the donors, they do not have the time to wait for 2 or 3 years to just get a due diligence. And the call for action actually opened this channel to let the private sector could allocate their money in a timely manner, especially when you use one map to identify the hotspot, which is the slow onset hazard and the fast onset hazard that taken place, and to tackle the refugee issues quickly, timely. And this currently the family of the UN Geospatial Network, which also the part of the operating family for the One Map project, 42 UN agencies. And we have UN Data OICT at the Secretariat for managing the One Map project. And this is a quick demo of the mapping system. When you type it in what you're looking for, here I'm using the climate refugee as the demo case. Tropical cyclone, let me pause right here. So you see at this corner, it is an integrated system with a generative AI. That allows you to do the conversation with the geospatial intelligence system, even you do not have the geospatial expertise. And when you search the data layer you're looking forward to, is will give you different format for you to freely download. At the same time, you will see the related data layer, which are the layers that are being used together with the layer you search for certain reports, and together with the reports you also can download. And then to generate that reports, all the layers put in together, you have to use the analytics, the computation package, and the analytics package will also be part of the search, give search result, give back to you. Okay, sorry. And once you searched, you will have the instant realization of the data layer. And you put in 3 layers together, apply the pre-designed analytics package. It will help you to get the conclusion of where the hotspot is. This is the case for climate refugee. You will see the red coded area country, Mozambique, which is the tropical cyclone affected area. And once you search, you can post it. And once you post it, and the UN system will validate it after the checking the data, after checking the analysis approach, after checking the mandate of the agency, we will give a proposal and post the proposal. This proposal is part of the call for action. It ensures the transparency of the projects to the public. In normal, in the traditional way, I put this way, we work with the partners that we have the experience with. So we know their capacity, we know that how we can achieve things in a more effective way. And we do not have the efficient amount of the time to go for the open call for the project for each one of them. And this actually opened the window for everybody to see what the proposal is and what kind of scale the funding is and what kind of expertise we need. And if your team actually can fall into the category working with the UN as a contractor, for example, there the tropical cyclone hit the city and you need a reconstruction. If you have an architecture firm, you have a construction firm, if your firm actually can fall into the category, complete, for example, on a bridge that in about 3 weeks' time, and to ensure the local transportation, the food can be delivered, etc., etc. If you possibly can compete for that, simple as that. So that's actually, it's a very small button for that, but it's a huge window that we open for the public sector and private sector. And of course, not only for the static data that we put in the warehouse, but also the dynamic data, near real-time data. This is the global air monitoring system at the global level. And I understand that you might question that why the format of the mapping is a bit different, because the One Map project still work on the improvise. It's a federated system. Once it's in the federated system, it means that other existing mapping, we have to find a way to link to our map and formatting the data in a similar type of the realization. This one is just, like I said, a work in progress one. So all the things we have talked about, sorry, how many minutes I have? 6 minutes, okay. So all we have talked about is the digital platform, and of course we also have the physical infrastructure and what we call the situation room. We have 3 tiers of the situation room will be allocated worldwide. And we are considering that since the One Map gonna give the near real-time service, then no data gonna sleep. So we put all these centers across different time zones to ensure one country, get to sleep, and then another country pick it up, and then in the morning it's sent back to where it came from, then to ensure all these things being running at 24/7. Which is, you talk too much. And this is the current progress we made. Let me stop here very quick. So 42 UN agencies, now we have 6 very active ones. And we have completed the blueprint for the next 3 years. The implementation plan is in the making. And we have secured currently $3 million for the Kickstart project. Supposed to here. And of course, we already started the test of the near real-time data we record by using the GPS data to analyze the local transportation system. And that will be reflected on the local community level. So that's where you can see the one map is across the scale, global, national, and local. We'll skip that part really quick. So I'm gonna just explain how the local community and the youth group being involved in this project. At the institutional level, we create this kind of generic job profile, which give a clear idea what expertise you need to train yourself to, and very simple, what a degree and what the TOR is for the job. TOR means term of reference that you have to follow to deliver the work, etc., etc. So you can have a better idea and also apply the right job at the right time. And also, it's very crucial for the senior group to ensure that their experience can be used to be the mantle for the young future leaders in their team, to train them in a way that can match the requirements, not only for current job, but the job actually in their view, in their vision, in about 2 or 3 years. And most importantly, I would see here is the mentorship that is offered through the generic job profile, the opportunity itself. And secondly, the ground action. So geospatial situated drone is not only, put this way, a shop. It is a collective shopping system at the local level. Imagine that the data you have can be treated as a token, and you collect the data, you come to the room, and you upload them, and they will reflect to the regional center, and they will validate them. If they are being validated, they will reflect on the one map. And all this process, you own the data, you have the ownership, you have the custodianship, you have the stewardship of the data itself, and that's where the local community started to be getting involved. And once they feel the ownership of the data itself, they will care about the process, and which we refer to the data supply chain itself to ensure the quality of the data, and also where the data being reflected. And that's where the scale and size came in. To create a condition for this objective, we applied what we call the decentralized autonomous organization framework, which gives the ownership and also management into put this into a hybrid mode. You do have a centralized regional center to manage the data assets, but also the local community have a say in that. I think already 6 minutes. Then I will quickly come into the funding mechanism. It shows 3 ways that the use could be benefit from it. Is we ask the donor to allocate certain portion of the funding, particularly targeting on the youth group. So every year we will have around $1 million that allocated for this project. 2 or 3 youth-led pilot community projects focus on the priorities of disaster risk and local conflicts. And of course, you will get contribution in kind. It's including the situation loan that we provided for you. It gives you the digital connection to the central data hub and also university lab support. And this is the project that we did at Masari. In Nairobi. Is informal settlements, which led by Douglas Regan from the last session that we had in the compound. In the project that we trained the local youth group how they can use their phone to collect the data and compile them into a narrative package and work with the local government to ensure the validation of the data and reflect it back to the community plan. I will see, yeah, I'll be like that. Okay, it works. Now it's working now.
Thank you very much, Ivan. This is really groundbreaking, making the UN really UN organizations working as one, and making this data that is being collected usable for UN agencies, for national governments, for everybody else. And to make even more use of it, It's citizen science, a big approach, and Bridie Schultz from Australian Citizen Science Association. Please join us here.
I know you say that because you're going to do
But please come here, and we connect it here. We'll put it, yes. Okay, let's start with the video perhaps. It's that again, okay? It's,
Hello? No, it's not that. I just have to apologize because last year, August, actually we did a joint launch together with the Citizen Science, Global Citizen Science Association. Because the version we prepared here is focused on the youth engagement, that's why there's certain slides that we missed. But what the lady here just gonna present is also a big portion for our during the launch time that we jointly do the one map together. Just makes sense to you.
Thank you again. Hi, I'm Dr. Bridie Schultz, so I'm on the board of the Australian Citizen Science Association. Who here? Who here knows what citizen science is? 1, 2, and 1 of these. 3, 4, and 1 of these. So I've prepared a video for you all that explains what citizen science is, how it links to the UN One Map, but also 3, 4, and 1 of these. So I've prepared a video for you all that explains what citizen science is, how it links to the UN One Map,
but at least we know which ones.
at least we know it works. This is true.
Okay. Yeah.
Oh, we've lost Mira. I'll wait till Mira gets back. I've also got a PowerPoint presentation to show you, but essentially we have so many initiatives happening in Australia where through the citizen science method, we're empowering literally everyone that we meet to be a part of the actual solution. So I know we discussed in the session earlier this afternoon that yes, there's a lot of talks and there's a lot of conversations that need to be had, but what I love about citizen science is it's the actual doing, and it's the doing of everyone who lives in an area, everyone who lives in a region, everyone who has first-hand experience with these challenges are the ones who are having the first-hand experience with solving those challenges through these citizen science methods. I've lost him. So Professor Jacqueline McGlade from Strathmore University, she's also married to the chief of the Masai Mara in Nairobi, Kenya. So she's the queen of the Masai Mara. So she lives with farmers in that region. They're her people, they're her farmers. And she noticed that a lot of those farmers didn't have certain data that could really, really improve the productivity of their land and the resources that they created for their village and for their people. And so Jacqueline saw that one of the challenges for these people is that no one necessarily took them seriously when they said, we've got this problem, I think I have a solution, because at the end of the day, there are those who exist who think that unless you have a degree in science, you couldn't possibly do science. Unfortunately, to some people it matters, but I have 4 degrees in science plus a PhD in veterinary genetics. But what I tell everyone is that you don't need a degree in science. That's the whole idea. Citizen science is about working with those of us who chose to spend 17 years and too much money at university getting degrees, but you can benefit from the knowledge that we have from academia, but more so we benefit from the information that you have as the citizens, the people living in those areas, and like I said, experiencing those challenges, but also coming up with those solutions. So that micro-credential program gives actual university credentials to people who may not even have finished high school. So it gives them credibility, and it gives them the data and the ability to collect that data so that they can improve their sustainability, their environmental footprint, and the positive effect that they have on their community. So that's Africa for a minute. Back home in Australia, because again, citizen science as a method is so powerful, the Australian federal government, the Department of Environment, Science and Innovation gave the Australian Citizen Science Association a federal grant to put citizen science corners in almost 500 public libraries across Australia. So this presentation is targeted towards those librarians, but I thought I'd show it today because what's happened is we had almost 400 staff who work at libraries in Australia who said to me, oh, we can't do science because we don't have a science degree. I've got a degree in information and knowledge. And I went, well, we've got this. And so they've come to me now and they say, we have frogs. I had a woman email me the other day and she goes, we've got frogs. What's the citizen science project regarding frogs in my region so I can get my community who come to my library to actually collect information and provide knowledge and local knowledge and information on things like the frogs. So it's just a beautiful, beautiful, you don't need a science degree to contribute to scientific research. We've got it written on everything. So this is the team at AXA, the Australian Citizen Science Association. Some massive examples of citizen science. So the Great Barrier Reef, I say it's in my backyard, it's about a 24-hour flight from my house, but still it's in the same state, right? So it's a whole thing. One of the greatest conservation stories, one of the greatest stories of citizen science is coral bleaching in the Great Barrier Reef. Everyone for all of the science, all the data said that the reef was 80, 90% bleach, which is horrible. It was the citizens who casually went snorkeling who said, hey guys, if you stop taking aerial photos and actually go below and have a look underneath, there's actually a lot of living and vibrant reef down there. So it was the citizens collecting data that has actually magnified and actually created real change in the health status and the conservation status of one of the great wonders of the world. We also count birds, pretty much just for fun, because why not? This is one of my favorite things. So we have a 4 minutes, thank you. We run, so the Citizen Science Corner that's established in libraries, at the end of the day, it's for the youth. Those kids who have maybe not much to do on the weekends or have nowhere to go to access the internet, the library and information centres, that's their safe space. And these are real stories of students who are taking part in citizen science and identified brand new species of animals. The kids get to name this. The students, the next one here, this is Sunshine Coast Girl. This was literally down the road from my house. I say actually literally, it was 10-minute drives. We're not by Australian standards here. The kids got to name a new wasp. Can you imagine leaving high school, getting to say, I did a scientific publication and I named a new wasp species? Like, that sounds like an amazing thing, but in reality, we all have the ability to have this story for ourselves. And citizen science is how we can achieve that. So why is citizen science so awesome? You get access to professionals, tools, projects, hands-on learning, insight into real research. So it's not, you see something, it's not tracking an app and saying, oh yeah, you know, the New York subway has an app that says if you see something, say something. It's not that, it's you actually sit down with scientists, people doing the research, and you work together to work out what information and knowledge you can share together to make a real difference. It caters to all community members, regardless of their background or whether or not they know nothing or everything of science. My mother is 67 and she is an avid citizen scientist, especially in our local region. But most importantly, what I hear a lot about at these United Nations events that I attend is the lack of collaboration between the people who are doing the research and the people that they are impacting, and hopefully in a positive way, but unfortunately not always. The great thing about citizen science is it is rooted, the whole premise is that it's scientists working directly with communities and vice versa. So the Maker Project for libraries, like I said, there was a Department of Industry. So this is what a citizen science corner looks like. It's literally just a corner with citizen science projects in it. The beautiful story about this particular library is a neurodiverse student who was in grade 8. Never said a word to any of her teachers or peers. We set up this citizen science corner. She was there every lunchtime, and she is now on, I'm getting goosebumps. She's now on public radio talking about the work that she's doing in her school library. And that, to me, is just one of the most amazing stories. But I have said enough. I could literally talk about this all day. But thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you very much, Bridie, for this inspiring example of citizen science enabling kids to do important knowledge work. And with this, we come to IAA and Thomas Burrell, who are using also mapping or general collaborative intelligence exercise in the field of art. And we are very much looking forward to work with you, with UN One Map and many other partners on a new initiative that will map artistic expression. And let me show the presentation that you have sent me. Here it is.
Very simple.
Yeah, very simple.
Yeah. Good afternoon, everyone. It's wonderful to be here. It's so nice to see everyone's faces. Thank you so much to Glocha for inviting us here today to talk a little bit about Map Your Art, which is following along with one of the big themes of the day, taking local and looking to expand it to something much bigger, global. My name is Thomas Burrell. I'm representing the International Academy for Arts and Cultural Studies. One of the things that our organization has always been centered around was this deep commitment to using what we call cultural diplomacy as a vehicle for building global citizenship and imparting positive change in the world. For us, we see that art and culture is perhaps one of the strongest unifying tools that we have to connect with the world around us, to connect with people around us, and to just be able to engage with the world. This has always been maybe the backbone, the most central part of our organization. But of course, as you can imagine, over the last 10 years, things have changed in the world so drastically, especially in regards to social media, technology, artificial intelligence. Pretty much on a daily basis, we have to evolve our organization to be able to not only keep up with all of these changes, but to be able to embrace them and to maximize the potential to reach as many people as possible. And of course, to keep up with the youth who are always 15 steps ahead of us. It's really unbelievable to see just how fast the world is evolving, and being able to work alongside the younger generation and to take as much as we can from them is perhaps one of the biggest sources of inspiration that we have. So, of course, we have great, excitement at the prospect of utilizing one map and working with GloCha in order to really work to take local initiatives and bring them to a global scale. So I want to jump right into Map Your Art, which is it's a really great example of one of the many initiatives that we do around the world. This is something that I want to talk about in a very broad sense, simply because this initiative is something that we designed for one specific locality. And because it's designed for a specific locality, there are a lot of smaller elements of the project that worked the way we wanted it to because it was designed for that locality. It's not something that would just necessarily be plugged in somewhere else, but I want to talk about it broadly so we can sort of see how some of these values and how cultural diplomacy and all of these things can really work together in order to impart global change. So Map Your Art was an initiative that was, it was an initiative that was designed for youth participants. These participants ranged in age from 6 years old into their late teens. So selected participants who submitted artwork would have the opportunity to have their works showcased and presented in museums, both at the national and international level, and it was also published in a catalog. So that was some of the, inspiration for these kids to go out and to create art. But for the initiative, there was a call for submissions that centered around a prompt. And that prompt was, imagine the future of how we live together and use the materials, colors, textures, and forms around you in your daily lives to show them. Applicants also had an opportunity to submit short paragraphs about their works as well, so they could demonstrate, articulate some of the critical thinking behind their works. And it's very, very hard to put into words how blown away we were by these submissions. And I wanted to pull a couple of them up on the screen so you guys could see. This is the second slide that we have. The first was actually done by a 10-year-old, if you believe it or not. The second, this is the paragraph that was written by the student. It says, this painting is intended to arouse people's environmental awareness and appreciation of the natural world. The little boy and dog in the painting represent human responsibility and duty. The huge hands hold up the forest, conveying the hope of rebuilding nature and reviving vitality. The presence of animals such as tigers, antelopes, birds, and butterflies symbolizes the importance of ecological balance and diversity. Through this painting, the artist hopes to call on mankind to jointly protect the earth and create a better and more sustainable environment for the next generation. I mean, this is an 11-year-old student who was asked to imagine a better future and asked to look at his community, look at his world, look at his environment, and to critically reason about this and to put it on paper. And maybe one of the coolest things too is if you're creating a painting like this, it's not something that happens overnight. It doesn't happen in a couple of seconds. You take time to sit down, to think it out, to put it on paper. It's not something that happens in every sort of discipline. There's another piece. This is actually a sculpture. Another 11-year-old who submitted this artwork. The paragraph is, it's about a future where the planet has been swallowed up by plastic and the last remaining piece of land has been built by humans as a virtual city surrounded by electronic screens. in order to deceive us. Those huge plastic screens simulate the form of the ocean as if human beings are still living in the former green planet. My original intention of creating this work is to remind everyone that plastic has seriously damaged the ecological environment of the Earth. Humans keep creating and using plastic products, but ignore them and create more rubbish. If it continues to pile up like this, the Earth will be what I imagined it to be. Human beings need to control the desire for unnecessary consumption, reduce the frequency of using plastics, develop more environmentally friendly materials, and reduce rubbish in order to make the green nature that we rely on survive for a longer period of time. I wasn't thinking like this when I was 11 years old. I mean, truly, this whole book it's filled with examples. It's really something that is, me, it blows my mind. It really, really does. So how and why is art important? So for us, simply, in the vast majority of cases, people take action about issues because they've developed some sort of personal relationship to them. It's not just about knowing that an issue exists out there. There's something that's so essential about developing some sort of individual relationship to those issues in order to really mobilize action. So for many young people, this project, this initiative, it was a tool that helped turn what can be extraordinarily existential or just observable issues into something that's really personal. And not only that, when you have a prompt to approach these issues from this sort of personal standpoint, this personal perspective, using the elements from your life, the things around you, it encourages these people, even kids that were 6 years old, to look at the world with a critical eye. And not just what they hear is out there, but to say, what do I actually see? And then what is the definition of a better future? I mean, it's really phenomenal. And truly, I mean, that personal connection, that personal perspective, that's the magic. It's that critical thinking, that reflection. Because once you've done that, taking the next leap to saying, what can I do about this? What can I do to achieve this future? It's actually very, very small in comparison. So taking this example of a small locality, I want to take a moment to sort of talk about how we could tie this into one map. So if you look at the perspective or look from the perspective of art, culture, education, the beauty of the One Map project is that it holds incredible potential to expand perspectives so far beyond your tiny locality of perception. I think the reality is that when you are in a community, there are certain empirical truths, right? If you're in New York, you look around New York, like we see certain things that are going to be the same. If you're growing up in Seoul, like you're going to look around, you're going to see certain things. There are certain truths about where you're from. But once your eye starts to open up to looking at things from a more critical light, all of a sudden, if you see someone else who's looking at their world from that critical light as well, you're able to connect with it differently. And I think the really cool thing about this whole project with One Map is that it really holds the power to connect us. And when I say connect us, I really mean it holds the power to connect the younger generation. Because, I mean, it's amazing for me to see. I mean, I remember growing up in a very small town in the Midwest, and I didn't have all of the opportunity in the world to go out and actually see what was out there. And now to see all of these young people that have access to social media, access to the internet, access to YouTube. I remember watching National Geographic when I was a kid and watching, you know, these documentaries about the pyramids, and I was like, wow, like this is the only time I'm gonna see something like this. It exists on YouTube, anybody can see this now. It's just so accessible, but there's something that's almost numbing about it. Like when you look at these things, there's so much information, sometimes you just don't get that personal connection. And I think if you utilize something such as One Map to connect people who are looking at the world from specific lights, you're using education to draw people together. I mean, it's something that could not just unify the world, but it's something that could really inspire people to create meaningful change, because they won't just be looking at it from their perspective, they'll be looking at it from the perspective of the world. So we're extremely excited about working alongside GlowJob, working with One Map to be able to pursue these elements. Do you have a question?
Yes.
You can come to use the
Please, yeah.
microphone and divine.
Yeah, thank you very much for the presentation.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, actually, here in the United States, I'm working with the Ohio Academy of Science. And one of the things we are doing is, actually, my job is to evaluate projects of.
If you could speak louder.
Yeah, so what I'm saying is now, my name is Tokam Divine. I'm from Cameroon, but based in the US now. I'm now based in the United States. And I currently run a non-profit. And apart from that, I'm part of those that designed the SDGs back in 2012. With Amina Mohammed when she was still Minister of Environment at Nigeria. And that's my very good friend for many years, about 20 years. So I said, let me come, I asked my friend, said, let me come here. And then she told me we're around. And I said, let me come. So basically, here in the United States, I'm based in Ohio. And what I'm doing with the Ohio Academy of Science, my job is to actually evaluate projects of high school students, middle school. And when I'm seeing this, I'm very passionate about it. So my question to you was, what do you do? I mean, how do you map out these children, and what comes out of the project once I want to submit the project to you? What do you do to support them to implement it at the community level, or what becomes of the project? Because having the project submitted to you is very, very good, and the libraries. So for me, I want to see action. We're now into the decade of action. We have just 5 years for the SDGs. What are we doing to that? Thank you very much.
Thank you for the question. You know, I think one of the things that we pride ourselves in a lot at our organization is simply the fact that we believe that every community, every organization, every specific project, it requires its own approach. And approach doesn't just involve the project. It doesn't only involve what's going to happen. It involves the people. It involves all of these different levels that have to be taken into consideration. So to answer your question, I can't answer your question because it all revolves around what your needs are. So the best thing that we can do is to have a conversation about it, and we can see what's possible and what would support you the best. Because at the end of the day, this initiative that we did, I can't take this. I can't just plug it into New York City and say, hey, this is going to work. This is going to work just the way that it did in this other place. It doesn't work that way. It's like we have to take, I mean, even when it comes to implementation, there's so many layers, there's so many things you have to figure out. I remember in the earlier presentation, someone had mentioned that sometimes you have to understand the chessboard that you're playing on in order to be able to make your moves. I don't know if this is understanding the chessboard. I think it's about appreciating and understanding the communities that you're in, because the mobilization, the way that you approach all of these things, it's going to look different in every single place. Ohio is very different.
That was my question. That was my question.
I grew up in Iowa, so I'm not too far away from Ohio, but the way it would look in your community, which would be very different if you're living in Columbus versus Cincinnati versus Akron.
I'm not comparing Ohio and New York. The question is, it's a general question, that if you're implementing it here in New York, what are you doing with the projects of these young people that submit to you? What is the outcome of this project? That's what I'm asking.
We are going to build it now in the next session, and let's get to Susanna and to Vince to develop this cooperation framework for us to have then really meaningful engagement opportunities, entry points for partners like you. Thank you very much, Thomas. He is doing a great job. And now Susanna and Vince, if you take over. And then at the end, we will have also, we will ask Doug and Ali also to say a few words. But now giving to you, shall I put on the presentation?
No taking over.
Yeah.
There's no one winner and no chess games being played, because we're creating a game where all win. And yeah, it requires us to really think about centering life. It's not one team against the other. If anything, you know, there's fascism. Our democracy is being uprooted, and we have to make sure that people on the ground at the local level who are participating, doing the work, are being seen, are being valued, are being supported and protected in the process, because I know it's really scary. It's dangerous out there right now. If we say the word climate, if we, label ourselves trans or whatever, like people's livelihoods are at stake. And it's a really, really critical time for us to be thinking about how we can work better together and not other each other and not demonize one another and create these more, separative, divisive language. And it's like me against them, like we have to really work together and cooperate in partnership. And that's really what GLOCHA is standing for, this Global Challenge Action Network. And we're going to transition more from challenges to solutions in our framing of our work, because it's really, let's focus on the positive, let's focus on the solutions, not just the challenges. So Global Challenges Foundation, which goes by GLOCHA, has been working on creating a framework that will be adopted through a resolution to address global challenges through local action to reach the Sustainable Development Goals. Really working with the UN's current Agenda 2030, while also introducing an innovative, emergent framing that is actually not so new. It's always been the way since humans have existed on land, really taking into consideration our local, environmental, changing realities. How can we think more bioregionally, rooted in natural processes? And humans have always migrated based on what kind of resources were available in their on the land that they inhabited, and sharing within their tribe and across tribes. And bioregionalism has become a controversial term now because a lot of the movement has framed themselves as the alternative to the current system. But I believe that we need to work in cooperation at multiple levels of government, from municipal, state to federal, and across nations as well. And so we've been introducing a perspective that we can layer onto the UN One Map initiative, where 42 agencies are collectively sharing data to make more informed decisions. How can we also layer in a bioregional perspective that allows the nation states to see the ecosystems that they share and take collective responsibility, shape policies, move resources to people who's on the ground doing the work, entering in the data through citizen science, while being protected in the process, so that they're not being penalized for working on climate-related issues, but rewarded. So Vincent has been doing a lot of really incredible mapping work. He won't be able to get into everything today, but he's been building really integral tools for us to share information, create these knowledge systems that will enable us to make better decisions together.
Hi everyone. So if you're here today, you probably are interested in mapping. Who here likes maps? So there's lots of different types of maps, and how I define a map is any figure that represents information spatially. So that could be a geographical map, but if we looked at who here in this room knows each other, that would be an example of, we could put that on paper and draw that out as a map, but it would be a map of our social network, where the distance between us wouldn't be geographical space, but it would be how closely related we are. So there's all these different types of maps, and the reason why we do mapping is, I think, summarized pretty well this slide here, which is to really assess this current landscape, the territory, to be able to understand what our goals are, by seeing, okay, where do we want to go? What's our collective destination? And doing that and showing someone a map is a really good way of getting on the same page, because you both have the same shared understanding of reality and of that shared goal that you want to go towards. And then hopefully maps can help us to navigate towards that better shared future that we all see together. And over the past 5 years, I've been working on hundreds of different mapping projects, and ended up getting really frustrated with people creating maps from scratch and then not building on top of each other's work. And so in August, we launched Omni Mapping, which is a nonprofit, fiscally sponsored by the Buckminster Fuller Institute, and we're working on building global knowledge commons. And this knowledge commons, like the UN One Map, will be able to be utilized by many different organizations to build the maps that they need in order to navigate towards the better future and to solve the specific challenges that local projects have on the ground. Yeah, I mean, when we talk about mapping, really, like every year, everyone, I would argue, does mapping. Nonprofits spend alone just tens of billions of dollars collecting data, organizing data, and then visualizing it every year. And so if you use Google Sheets or Miro or pencil and paper, you're doing mapping. And of course, they do it to be able to help navigate. But right now, many of these maps are fragmented. And so you have a directory of resources, a climate solutions library, a GIS map of bioregional hubs. And you might see these being shared around on LinkedIn, and you might look at them and then say, this is really cool. Maybe this is for me, maybe it's not. Often these maps are built as one-off solutions. And so in building many of these one-off solutions myself, I've seen the same patterns of what these maps are trying to do and an opportunity for how they could connect and build on top of each other and coordinate towards shared goals. And I think, you know, being here with UN agencies, I think this one quote Antonio Guterres said is, he said if there's one sentence he could use to describe the world, it would be that global challenges are more and more integrated and the responses are more fragmented. And if this is not reversed, it's a recipe for disaster. And I think we collectively in this room can reverse that trend because we're all coming together. And I think we finally have the technology and the trust, the social technologies that can ensure our responses are more integrated and we can be collaborating across the different sectors that we work in, the different domains, and different organizations, which is needed towards solving problems like climate change. So, like I said, that's why we started Omni Mapping. Our mission is to help organizations create better, more interoperable maps and use them to enable collaboration within, but also across organizations working on shared goals. And so, you know, right now, these would be like 4 different maps created in 4 different tools with 4 different purposes. You might have a GIS map created in Esri, which was mentioned before, an Airtable database, a Kumu map that shows the system. And what we're proposing is an infrastructure where you can create an Omni map. An Omni map is a map that's win-win. It's omni-win. Everyone can benefit from it. And you can connect data across these maps of different types and have them build on top of each other. So if you wanted to create a systems map and you see this data in someone else's map that you want to use, you can just pull it in and build on top of it. And another big problem is this sort of the blank spreadsheet and starting from scratch. And so what if instead of creating a map from a blank spreadsheet, you were to say, cool, I want to create a solution for my local community where I want resources in North America that have to do with regeneration. And now you have a database of North American regeneration resources that you can pull into your map as a starting point, and you can build on top of, and then find the people that added those resources and say, hey, I need help with now taking this global resource and making it really applicable towards my local context. And so that's the sort of future that we're imagining, where we can collaborate across these global to local scales and allow the local maps to be specifically tailored to their needs, but not have to start from scratch, because that's just nonsense, in my opinion. Yes. So yeah, the main problems, I think, touched on. Maps often are not focused and then don't meet their local needs. And a lot of that is just, it takes a lot of time to create these maps. They're constantly recreated from scratch. And there's often a disconnect between the incredible work being done at the global scale by many of these UN agencies that is not reaching the local projects on the ground. And that's what we're hoping that this can serve as a bridge. Yeah, so the local can inform the global, and then the global resources can be utilized by the local initiatives. And so that's a feedback loop. So the first thing that we published, which is available as a free toolkit on omnimapping.org, it's a mapping assessment. You can use this if you want to create a map to decide what is the scope of our map, what are the goals that we have, and then how do we design it to meet those goals. And we created this as a way for people to create better maps that also when they start creating them, they can be interoperable by default. So the next version of this will actually suggest a tech stack that you can use that will help you create that map, and then also how to make that data available to other platforms. So so I'm going to show you guys in action OmniMapping, and then open it up to do some kind of have a little bit of a discussion around the maps that people in this room are interested in seeing. So So we quickly spun up a map with the goal of putting together some of the partners that are both in this room but also connected with GLOCHA and this event in particular. And so an example of the sort of OmniMapping framework in an actual tool, this is called Catalyst, and it's a tool that we've been building to do mapping for the past 5 years. And one of my favorite parts about this tool is it lets you take the same data and view it in many different ways. So this is a directory of organizations that we call GLOCHA partners. And so you have a gallery of all the different organizations that have been collaborators.
It's not up to date.
Yes, it's not all inclusive. And so you could say, okay, if I wanted to see this in a really succinct way, you can view it in a spreadsheet. Or if you were looking to map out geospatially, you could see where these organizations are located around the globe. And then you could go to any one particular organization and learn more about them, check out the website. What's that? Is that the right one? I'll pick a different one. So here are some of the organizations from today. So for example, the Australian Citizen Science Association. So basically, if we were doing this map, what we would decide is what are our goals? Do we want to encourage learning? So in that case, we might want to design this where you can explore the different websites of these organizations and then take notes. If we wanted to create some sort of governance system as a way to direct funding to the different projects in this ecosystem, we could add a governance layer. And so what that might look like is on each of the organizations that presented in this room, every person who's logged in can say, if I had $1 million to put towards this important work, how much would you give to this project? And so we could have everyone in this room go and vote, and then we could do a quadratic funding system where, let's say I have $500,000, I want to contribute to citizen science. And now going to that field, we can actually see the results of all the people. Right now it's only me who's voted, but we could see a graph that shows the average number or the quadratic amount that we would put towards that project. So this is an example of taking a map that was just a directory, but now in adding this other layer on top, we're going to do some sort of governance work that helps us make decisions and that helps us drive action.
And everyone can see in real time people's votes coming in and what's being distributed to each organization who wants to contract.
Yeah, exactly. And so yeah, here's another example. So I put another field, personal questions about this organization. So if I sent this link out, everyone here could put their answer to what questions you have about the different organizations that presented. And then you could see my answer. Susanna had asked a question here about the Australian Science Organization. So yeah, these are just some of the potential possibilities. One of the other really cool, we're talking about network mapping. So here's an example of a map showing the connections between these different organizations. So for example, Catalyst is partnered with OmniMap, which is related to this event today. And basically being able to say, okay, what are the goals we have? And then what data do we need? What visualizations are going to help us get there? What ways do we need people to interact with this data, like voting or adding notes or being able to just learn or do matchmaking? What interactions do we need to enable in order to reach our goals? And so that's kind of where I wanted to open the floor to everyone here, is to think about, in like the projects that you're doing, if we had a incredible data set of the organizations in this room, or the different opportunities that those organizations have, like what would be helpful for you? How would you want to interact with that information? How would you want to pull that information into the tools that you might be building? And what are the ways that, what would the goals that you would have, which we can then use to design the next session or the next mapping workshop that helps us figure out how we can coordinate across the different initiatives we have.
I would love to open this up and have it be a little bit more interactive and engaging. If people have any questions or have solutions that you want to share to plug into this dashboard and then into this map. Is there a way for them to?
Yeah.
But there's a QR code also. I don't know.
I mean, if people have questions, I'll leave this up here in case anyone wants to play around with it.
Lena, do you?
Hi, everyone. Okay, I have like a bazillion questions, but I think one of the problem sets that I think about a lot is how we have all of our organizations share their resources and also share their processes. So like, we're working on this now, or there's a team that by 2025 we're trying to achieve this. And so how do we create also like a communications layer or like a check-in or like a larger sort of to-do of just so that people aren't doing superfluous work? There's like so much to do, I think. And one of the things that I think about is how are we sharing the piece that we're holding so we can kind of step into this higher level of understanding our roles and what the assignments are, and that there's more transparency in what's also in process, not only in the completion phase.
Yeah.
And Hilo is working on those pieces as well, which you're planning to integrate with. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, so yeah, I think that's a really good question. I don't necessarily have an answer to the question. I think that is the question. And part of the solution is that, in my experience, like organizations tend to have their data kind of siloed. So maybe this exists 25% in one tool, or 10% in your Google Docs, or 30% in a Google Sheet, and it's in these different formats as well. And so a big part of this, I think, is creating these sort of knowledge commons where you don't have to be forced to use a specific tool, but you can say, I want to make this data available, and then other people can pull that data into a more global dashboard where we can see what organizations are working on what are the ways that I can actually get involved as well. So how do we design these more like actionable information maps and dashboards that it's not just a static list of like what's happening, but it's also like, what can I do, or what do they need help with? And that needs to be like designed into the systems that we build. And we need to make sure that, we basically are making that. It also needs to reach a critical mass where like you need to have buy-in from many organizations, which is what I think is really incredible about like this network here, is that I think if we can have 100 organizations all working on mapping towards climate, to participate in a mapping workshop and we ask them, what are you working on? What do you need help with? Then we actually have enough of a critical mass to now that like there's a lot of synergies that are going to be in that unlocked after that sort of activity.
Yeah, Hilo is a really great tool that Bioregional Financing Facilities has been partnered with for local bioregional organizations, or organizations that are really thinking about how to organize in their bioregion, which means like across states. So they're like in the Northeast, New York, Massachusetts, Connecticut, New Hampshire, Vermont, Maine are all coming together to talk about local food systems, for example. And we'll use Hilo for communications, for what's happening right now, needs and requests, and those be built at a really like hyper-local level. So
Yeah, so like an example with Hilo is like, if you use Hilo for like group chat, and they have a feature where you can add an offer or request, making it where those offers or requests could be made public and then be pulled into other platforms. So that way, if there's a community that uses Hilo, another one that uses Slack, another one that uses Discord, the opportunities that are shared within a opportunities channel in a Slack group for Greenpeace and an offer that might be matching in Hilo, there can actually be a potential connection being made across the different tools that we're using. That's part of what we're imagining as this like knowledge commons that is not owned by any one person, but it's a infrastructure that is available for all tools and platforms to plug into.
it's actually like a public good, like Wikipedia.
May I briefly to outline a little bit the plans that we have also with Lodger.
So hi everyone again. So I would just like to briefly outline how we are envisioning also our cooperation with the UN One Map and also with the Map Your Art program of IAA and also with local authorities. We are going to LA in the context of IYC 11, and there we are going to bring our tools, and we want to really see that it adds value locally. So we said we are going to have our own data layer on the UN One Map. So probably in reality it will be some kind of duplication of one map because there's a high quality assurance mechanism, validation of data, and so in the UN managed space, data space, and they cannot just simply say, give us whatever data you have. So we have to somehow planning to duplicate one map and then having our own Glotcha challenges mapping data layer where we invite people that they go in their neighborhood and identify, localize and specify challenges. And this will be a big collaborative geospatial intelligence system. And in the first phase, we will say, let's use artistic expression related to global goals, related to global challenges that people like the Map Your Art program has done already, that people will go out, create an artwork, localize it, and we will put it on our UN One Map related data layer, and that there will then be, on the one hand, on the local level, some kind of mobilization around the challenges and community building around the challenges that those young people or creative community representatives will do. And the logic is that building an abstract information system is not moving the hearts of the people, and it's, we would not have a high turnout. But if we tell people, use your art, then the chances are much bigger that people will say, yes, I know how to express myself with visual art, with music, and putting this on a global map. This is then the communication channel where then such an asset, such an impact asset is not only a local asset, but it's a global one. It's in a global ecosystem. People can then in an interactive map, which we are going to present also with IAA during the pre-UNGA week exhibit that we are having already for 3 years with UN Habitat and UNEP. We will do this year a bigger one with an interactive LED screen where people will be able to zoom into locations, zoom into thematic priorities, finding artistic expression related to global goals. And that's somehow, these are somehow the ideas, and in LA we will see how we could do pilots related to this, and there will be workshops, and yeah, everyone invited to IYC 11 to see. Zach is helping us a lot there in LA. And yeah, this is a little bit of an outlook of what the vision for the cooperation is. And now that we have learned more about the different programs, we will probably have a better understanding and more potential to bring things together in a new program for which we also jointly do fundraising.
Yes, thank you, Mira. It'd be great to hear from Zach as well, a little bit about what's going to be happening in LA in a few weeks. So after, just for a little timeline, after LA Climate Week, we'll be hosting a little workshop again here at the UN alongside the UN Science Technology Innovation Forum for another real interactive deep dive session, less presentation mode, where we can understand how we can integrate our data. And then planning to be at UNFCCC in Bonn, Germany, where we'll be hosting a workshop with NVIDIA and many other partners. NVIDIA is holding a really important piece because they're building a platform called Earth-2 for climate prediction modeling that will enable us to understand what we need to be prioritizing based on digital twins of the Earth, and understand what we need to be prioritizing based on the changing climate and actions that people are taking that's living in a living library that's always changing, based on the information that we're putting into the system, or that it's sensing from the sensory networks. After UNFCCC, we'll be gathering back here in New York in September, pre-UNGA, alongside UN Global, the General Assembly, if it happens this year. It will happen. As we all know, the UN is going through an existential crisis right now, and it's really critical for us, youth and people all around the world, participating and helping them really play its part and its role in facilitating multilateralism and cooperation across the member states. And we need to be asking the right questions and showing the frameworks that can inspire partnership, inspire cooperation, inspire peace, and dialogue. So I think, these platforms are really key.
Is that here? You got there behind this? That Reagan there?
Yes.
Will you say a few words? You are a key person for our partnership.
Key person, Heidi.
Yeah, please.
And then we would.
Does anyone else have any questions while we get 10 seconds? Yes, Christina.
No, I got it.
I guess it's a reflection. Sure. Hi, I'm Christina Calfo. I'm the Director of Development at the Possibility Project, which is a performing arts for social impact nonprofit here in New York City. And my thought around mapping in particular is often we think of maps as, I guess the metric that we measure maps against is accuracy. How accurate is this map, right? There Be Dragons was as accurate as it could have gone at that point, but we're hoping for more accurate maps. My thought or reflection listening to Vince was, even at the Possibility Project, we have our young people, when they enter into the program, one of the first exercises they engage in with us is we call it issues brainstorm. And it's essentially 60 young people in a room calling out the issues that they see in their communities. And then we put them geographically, like geospatially along the room, and then they go around and write their experiences with those issues. And what you get is a heat map of the issues that New York City teenagers see as most important. And it's always shocking to me, the issues that they deem most pressing and the issues that we think oh, we're in New York City, we would never have to worry about that. Or, oh, we're in New York City, this is a pressing issue for us, right? Flooding, I've never seen it. I've never seen it. Body image, it comes up every year, even though we see eating disorder rates fall dramatically, right? And so that's a silly goose example, but like race and class and the intersection therein, how we purport to think of, or how we as the adults in the room are expecting to see that relationship play out, it never plays out that way for our young people. And that's not to say that they've got like the true beat, right? Like they have the true pulse, but rather it's a really valuable and insightful glimpse into not only the issues on the ground that they're experiencing, but also the issues that they see as most pressing. And so I guess the thought or question or reflection for mapping is, how do we get perception and accuracy speaking to one another? Because the issues that are actually impacting us on the ground may not be the issues that our young people, our youth deem as most pressing, or there might be issues we're missing that we think are being solved and really they're not on the ground. So that's my thought or reflection or question.
Thank you. And next time, it'd be amazing to have some of the youth from the Possibility Project participate in these conversations, and also delight us with their performance. They're really, really incredible. Moved to tears when I went to their performance before Christmas. Orphan children coming up with their own plays. Yeah. And their stories.
If you could do it in 4 or 5 minutes, and then Ali will have a concluding remark, and then we will prepare for the reception, which is supposed to start.
I'm taking 20 minutes. Taking the minutes you stole from me. Anyways, so I just wanted to kind of show you mapping in action. I mean, I love these conversations on mapping. I've done mapping for many, many years. It is very much it is geospatial and in that language, but it also allows you to basically see, as was mentioned, through the eyes of the community. And that the general challenge that maps are is that maps made by oftentimes many places like colonial maps and so on don't reflect reality. I mean, they just don't. So one of those communities that we work with, and you've seen referenced, is a informal settlement in Nairobi, Kenya. That's where I live. And that's where UN Habitat is based. We did a whole mapping process. So I'm going to try to go through this quickly. But so you saw what Gang was presenting. This would be a dot on that larger global map. The whole idea of one map is kind of Google Map for the commons. So currently, as it stands, as we are learning super rapidly, is that our data is owned by somebody else. It's not owned by you, and it's lovely to think that Facebook is neutral and Twitter is neutral. No, it's just whoever owns it, and whatever man boy is going to run these shops is going to get his bros to work out and do whatever the heck they want. You don't own the data. And that's always, and so whenever I talk to young people that we're talking, or just talk to people we're dealing with, it's like, you put something online, you don't own it. But what we're trying to do at least is democratize it. So one map is an attempt to democratize it. It's an attempt to put it under the often very imperfect UN system, which does weird things, but at least it represents 192 countries in most of the world. So that's the one map. So imagine this is a dot in Kenya and such, and the data they're collecting is this. It's about sustainable futures. So if we look at this and how it's scanning in, you can see this is actually Mathari. The data, this was a map done up by a youth group there, which kind of maps the structures. One of the interesting things about the concept of slums and informal settlements, it means they're informal. They're not mapped, they're not known. But that, to many, means they're not there. But it's not true, they are there. They're under a very formal system. The SIP system is usually the narrative. It's usually passed on from people to people to people. But what they can do now, if they control their data, and that's the underlying part, is if they control their data, then they're able to use maps, because data is not known. So this is a map of Athari that they created. This gives you lots of different data. So the question then, after the flooding that happened in East Africa, is Athari resilient? So they had many of the things that happened when they started mapping in 2020 using COVID was trying to map what was going on in the system. One of the things they mapped is water flows, because of course, water is super critical during COVID, but it's also super critical, funnily enough, during flooding. So that was mapped. They mapped floodlights, communal kitchens, they mapped water points. All these things were never formalized. The only time it happened was when the youth did it. So then we have flood impact zones. Again, this was just an interpretation. Before, it would usually require some expert to do it. Now it can be done through AI. Then they did surveys and so on. What this, and I'm not going to go through this in any great detail, but what this, all this kind of statistical data and stuff that's pulled forward, driven by the young people's data that they collected, now means that anybody in the world can go and log in and see what the heck is happening in this informal settlement. Before this, you get nothing, other than you get a blog or some NGO that's writing about, or the United Nations with a lovely report that they buried you've never seen before. So suddenly, and the other thing that's really exciting about this for these communities is it's real-time and updatable. So you can collect it, it's not just a static piece of paper. It's something that a community can create and recreate and create. So we're going through, you can look at this and lots of different, you all see maps. So again, I'm not going to go through any of the details, but what was done with this is using specific geospatial tools, a lot less experts than it used to have. So, and this is the community in Massari, what happened after the flooding. So suddenly these communities are able to map real-time crises. This started in COVID, it went through the flooding, it's now turned into a housing crisis where they're trying to evict everybody that got caught in the flooding and basically gentrify the area. So what I find fascinating with this work, and not to objectify people, but fascinating with this work is this is a the community. These people make $5 a week, but they're still able to be trained, they're still able to be given tools that allow them to explain their community that has never been explained before. Now, there is danger, because as we've learned when we're in the, I don't know how many people here were born in the Obama era, or you just quite young, but at that time when Facebook and social media came, we're like, wow, the liberal world will suddenly be able to change the world through social media. What we found out is that's not the case, right? Data is neutral, and whoever interprets it first gets there first. So what this to me demonstrates is that you can have the most marginalized and formal communities be given the power and tools of digitalization and be able, through specifically geospatial mapping, to be able to really advocate. I give a big credit to Miro and Glocha, because we started this back in the climate change thing when I said, hey, this group is, when we were doing the digital art for climate, I said, this group could do a really great mural. We were in COVID, they did a beautiful mural, they won an award. This again, is constantly showing that these communities are human, and that oftentimes we miss that. We might think of that, but then you're not human if you don't have a story. You just aren't. And story maps and the geospatial world allows you to have a story to tell others. You know that they know they have a story, and now they actually can see it. Thank you.
I hope that answers your question a little bit, Christina. I feel like the story is being the bridge.
So we're going to conclude, Ali, for last words for the workshop and introduce
Good evening, everyone. And thank you once again for being here. Busy day, and I'd like to welcome you today again for our last segment that is going to be a reception just in a few minutes. I promise you we're not going to be between you and refreshment for more than 5 minutes. And as we were having this workshop, I think that the future is is heavily depending on artificial intelligence and then also on the data. And I think that the mapping is most important and more important than ever. Previously, it has been important, but not widely known to the people. We have been practicing community development, and we have been mapping assets and resources for the people who know how to map. And it was known to very few people. I've been doing the community mapping or the resource mapping since last 16 or 17 years in my capacity when I was working with the Ministry of Youth Affairs and in different projects and programs, and it was not widely known. And even back then, the results were amazing. But now we have technology-friendly equipments everywhere, and artificial intelligence is getting known to the people more and more, and use that to do the mapping. The tools like ChatGPT are very amazing. Even if you have to pay for it, please use it, because I do use it. I pay for several AI tools, which absolutely makes my life easy, not just my life, the work of the organization, calculation, data mapping, and everything. So please make technology part of your everyday business, and you will see the magic. And yep, the next segment, we are going to have a musical reception and open mic. Starting in like 15 to 20 minutes, where I think we have a lot of young people have signed up to do open mic performances. Someone wanna read poetry, someone wants to sing, and someone wants to make a speech. So we will be hearing from incredible young people in a very informal environment, and looking forward to have a conversation with you all shortly. And for IYC 11, we're gonna come forward that year.
Thank you. And if you are feeling called to participate in the open mic, please tap me and I can add you to the list. Zach, would you like to share a couple words about the upcoming LA activities?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll let Ollie touch on it all later in more detail. But with the IYC 11 that's happening in LA in a week and a half-ish, we're also going to be adding pre-IYC activities that are trying to engage the local community a bit more. So we'll have an arts and music day at the beginning, which will also get kids involved. And then one of the days will be a sports or sustainable Olympics event, and then a little workshop to get people thinking about how to implement actions or initiatives that have been successful elsewhere in LA. One of the examples is a recycling initiative or project that they were working on in New Zealand, I believe, and trying to see, okay, how can we bring what they've done there into Los Angeles, whether it's a super local level in greater Los Angeles County or at a state level, and try to take that beyond just a workshop and what are next steps. Let's get it going in place. So yeah, I'll let Ollie get into the rest of it later, but that's a little bit. Thank you.
Thank you all for being here. We're just gonna take a couple minutes to move the chairs and open up the space for the reception. Thank you all for being here. 100%.
Okay, guys.
That was so much.
Make it better,
It wouldn't be, it would just be a
Like just making a one-off map is really get better. But then also we should definitely connect because community projects you have a card that you can also right now.
I need to say hello.
You were mentioning something about your where your high school students live or a much smaller capacity where you at a university level. So that's something that has university with the application process, the essays, and things. So I was wondering what I am Karen. I'm Karen. I love that you
Hello, everyone. May I have your attention, please? May I have your attention, please, everyone? I would love to have some attention. Thank you, thank you. We are about to start our reception and our evening that is open mic and some music. We're ready to start some technology, but we are formally going to start with some little introduction of things, and for that, I would love to have little silence in the room so we can start our evening. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Congratulations on your participation at the UN ECOSOC Forum. I hope you all had a very inspiring and fulfilling time together and had great conversations that are changing the trajectory of our future. So thank you. I'm going to introduce Lena Cole, who's going to share a song with us and just help us open up our vocal channels as we begin a night of open mic and poetry, artistry, for you to share your hearts with us. So thank you, Lena, for jumping in here.
Yeah, being emergent. Okay, I'm going to ask us to engage in a very ancient technique of song called call and response. Do we feel available to that? Yeah? E-A-O. 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 Okay, who wants to get in a circle? If you want to participate in a more integrated way, come. We invite you. We also invite you all to participate in clearing this space. If you're sitting on a chair, so you don't mind bringing your chair to the outer perimeter of this room, so we can open up the space and be together. Okay, we are now going to engage in a practice that is also very ancient, tale as old as time, but I think that we would more regularly know this as a kind of a frame of singing that was codified by Bobby McFerrin, and it is a practice called circle singing. So you don't have to know the song, you don't have to be a singer, but if you feel called, we'll kind of start over here. And if you feel called, please just come over and jump in. And so basically the core premise of it is that we're gonna create a song together. There's no prerequisites, there's just immersion. So let's try to kind of come into a circle together here. You're in the circle. You are in. All right, you're in the circle. We're just clearing the chairs. Hello. The way that this works is it's kind of like building. Okay. So we're gonna start with a bass, something very repetitive.
Johnson, right?
Come forward, whoever wants to participate. I think the invitation here is for everyone to feel free to express themselves in whatever way that comes through. This is a totally emergent space. There are no guidelines. You've been, in the concrete box all day, and this is your play space. So I think the invitation is just to feel free, grab the mic, speak what's on your heart. If you don't want to sing, use your bodies, use your expressions to really process all of the integration and intelligence that we shared today. Before we go and start, we just let you know
I like the sound of that. That's all I can say.
Hi, hello everyone. I would like to welcome you once again. In a little while, we will have refreshment and some drinks. So meanwhile, network is at yourself, and we will definitely be having the open mic. People will sign up for the open mic. When we start the open mic, we will start calling them with the name, and if they're in the room, please start lining up as you hear music. Thank you.
Can I speak? Hey, can everybody hear me? Yo, can y'all hear me? I have to get y'all attention real quick. It's my first time being in New York, and I'm a passionate entrepreneur and visionary. One day I'll be a global leader. My entrepreneur journey started in 2018, where I won a $10,000 direct partner with my city government to reduce violence in my community. I stay in the second worst city for economics for African Americans in America. And I've been doing a lot of infrastructure work, getting kids out of poverty, keeping kids off the streets. Just in October 2024, I won another $10,000 grant, where I also helped my school district build 6 esports labs. So I'm a gaming pioneer. I helped my school district build 6 gaming labs. I also helped my library district invest hundreds of thousands into infrastructure, so now the kids can compete at the libraries and they can get a college education because of me. With the $10,000 grant that I won, I just had Epic Games, which developed Fortnite. Their goals align with the 17 goals of the United Nations, and I just had Epic Games educating kids on game design. I got big goals, and I want to get people out of poverty. I want to stop people from struggling. I'm tired of Donald Trump and all of the bad things that he's doing, cutting funding from AIDS, cutting funding from vulnerable communities that can't protect themselves. I'm going to step up to Trump one day. Regardless of where we are, I'm going to step up to the people. I'm going to be strong and I'm going to be bold, because we need bold leaders that's going to stand up to bad politicians. It's not this Trump, there's a lot of global leaders that don't care about people. But it's people like D. Jones that care about people. I love y'all. I'm just glad to be here, and I just had to be bold, because you got to be bold if you want to see change. Thank you.
Anybody else have today? All right, I'm gonna call. So the food will be here in just a couple of minutes if you want to have food. So we're gonna get started with.
Oh, that's so cool. And how do you like New York? I like it. You look so young. You look 17 years old. Oh, okay. You look really young. So yeah, just from there. Because I heard this reception was going on, so I'm like, I need to check it out. I was here at the CSW, and then I was here for just like 2 years. to discuss. I went to New York a few times before that, though, and a lot of times when in New York, it's been like my first year, but like people are really nice, and it's amazing to be around like minded people and like people all working towards development goals, working with stores. So yeah. So the professional capacity, I work for the provincial government in Ontario, so the state government, and then I work part-time at a local institute, manager. So I'm on the advocacy program. So I'm not here representing the community here. I'm actually representing NATO in Canada, and NATO Association here. But basically, I run the UN advocacy events during the season of the UNGA, so that's the event. If you're interested, are you on LinkedIn?
Alright everyone, as the food is getting ready to be served, I just want to do a really simple and sweet little blessing on the food and blessing to, I think the reason why most of us are here is for the earth. Our collective blessing for humanity and for the earth. And in that way, it's really important to remember where food is coming from.
My background, I can work I can see I came here. Sorry. So yeah, that's amazing. It sounds like you're like an amazing start. It's just cool to watch. So yeah, yeah, honestly, it doesn't sound easy at all. It sounds like it's definitely it's gonna take like a lot of support from the community and like have you been back to Silicon Valley? Yeah, I've been back. Yeah, I think it was that's the only place where oh, that's just recently. Yeah, it was I've been like I went there, but it's very good. I think it's good when I was there. They decided to try something. They were just young. I think she was like 17 and she was pregnant, and so they actually she was so young. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's the things that are happening today. Like more people taking part in early, like between 15 and 17, like what they want to do, and they are making like all those like education like not education. Yeah, I get that I'm young. Like the person you think don't really have much support. So it's really personalized to them. When I witness that it happened, those that must happen.
Everyone needs to get closer to the solution. I would try to figure out be mindful of the people that are around you. So especially the first comment one, avoid being everyone engaged it. Thank you very much for coming and enjoy your time and have great networking.
It's good to be resourceful and take a look at stuff.
More like it's moving forward, like more friends, the shape is bigger.
Yeah, that's it about that. Yeah. There's a different broadcasting, different stage. There's broadcasting. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm ready if I don't take it.
Yeah, we'll be at coffee there. So I'm not home anytime soon. Yeah, I did ask. So please accept my offer. I see people are having snacks. Grab some snacks. Snacks. Oh my God! Yes. Oh my God!
You guys not so you guys are
I just want to come on here and say welcome to New I am your very unofficial hostess for this evening, and I'm going to leave right after this, but I wanted to just welcome you all to the official opening of the open mic portion of the night. So we are going to call up the first presenters here. There's two beautiful women who are coming at you, Destiny and Nikki. I don't know. Sorry, Destiny and Co. Should be making their way
What was your high of honestly, I feel like a lot of conversations with people I think people are like excited to be here. Let's see, the phase of bees, and then second best, trying to be like a monster. She doesn't like a very interesting story.
So guys, may I have your attention? Once again, I request your attention. I request your attention so we can start the open mic evening. I will give instructions to go. Kindly, do not be seated wherever you can, on the chair or on the floor, and do not go outside on the gallery area because it's not allowed by the security to be outside of the gallery area. Please respect that space. And we are about to start our open mic evening. So I request you guys all to be seated.
Yeah, right?
Folks, so we're starting evening of the open mic. There are a few rules for you to know. And this is absolutely neutral space. No political discussion, no political remarks, no political criticism, no political comments of any kind of any situation. We are respectful for the views of everyone. So be respectful for any sort of political comments that you make on this platform, as we do not endorse any political views at all.
Hi everyone. Hi, my name is Sanji, and I'm from NBC1. Hi, I'm Sanji, and I'm representing my NGO Samaya. And today we're going to be reciting a poem called Rewriting the Agenda. Gender inequality doesn't announce itself. It shows up in ordinary things, and whose names appear on school board, and whose don't, and whose health is prioritized, and whose is left off the list. In every policy written without us in the room. We know the numbers. Girls out of school, youth denied healthcare, voices dismissed before the interview. But behind every statistic, there's someone navigating barriers that shouldn't even exist. We're told to be patient. But patience doesn't build classrooms or clinics. Patience doesn't fund degrees or fix laws. If anything, patience has kept these gaps wide open. This week isn't about waiting quietly. It's about asking what equity actually looks like. When young people, especially girls and gender diversity, have real power to decide it. Not a future hands down, but a future we build together. So, as we set the agenda for this week, let's measure progress by whose voices shake the room, whose needs drive the policies, and whose dreams are no longer postponed. This time, we're not just on the agenda, we're rewriting it. Question. Try unplug this cord. I'm trying to breaks it all over. Thank you. Hello, can I get everybody's attention? Hello, hi. Hi, everybody. May I have your attention, please? Hi. I'll go. If you can hear me, say amen. I'll go. 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 Amen. All right, so we have speakers speaking, and as youth, we should be respectful of other people. We shouldn't be speaking over other people, right? That's right. Youth, we're here to set precedents on how we want to be treated, but
if we can treat other people with the respect that we want to be shown, then how can we expect other people to do the same? So we need to start that now, practice that now by giving these speakers who work really hard to prepare what they have to share with us, by giving them our attention. Can we do that for just a moment? Yes, ma'am. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Hello, everyone. Hi, everyone. My name is Polly, and I'm a representative of the IGCY for Bristol, Texas. I'm so honored to be here with all of you today. Now, I've always loved poetry because I think it strikes the perfect balance. It offers comfort and depth, living and impact, while also being deeply immersive. And so poetry lets us speak directly to the heart without all the noise. It takes how we feel and makes it something that everyone can understand. And as young people, we have so much to say, especially tonight, building a better world through science, inclusion, and sustainability. So I present this original spoken word piece as a celebration of the power we hold in our voices. It's called Start.
Hey, you guys in the back. Guys in the back, can they be quiet for 2 minutes? Please and thank you.
We begin with a spark, a thought in the mind of someone young, not someday wise, but today aware, who looks at a problem and says, why not? Why not clean water when we can code a system that finds it? Why not safer cities when we can build an app that lights the way home? It all begins with us. The youth, the curious, the connectors, the catalysts, not waiting in line but walking ahead with minds wide open, with hearts set on yes. We are the voice, not an echo, not a whisper, but a bold rising chorus that refuses to be quiet. We are the questions that spark solutions. The hands raised high in every room, the feet on the ground, the minds on the move, the dreams too vague to wait for someday. We speak, not just to be heard, but to be felt, to be known, to be part of the change we've always believed in. We're not waiting for the world to change. We're already changing it. With every post, every project, every protest, every pitch, we are the voice of the now, of what's next, of what's possible. And we're just getting started. So to every youth voice in this room, speak up. Speak loud and speak proud, because your idea might be the next breakthrough. Your voice might be the one that sparks change for tomorrow. Let the world know we're not building the future. We're not waiting for it. We are the future. Because we are youth. We are ready. And it all begins with us. Thank you. Before I finish, I just want to take a moment to express my sincere gratitude. First, to the Major Group for Children and Youth for the incredible opportunity to serve as representative, as well as to the United Nations EOCOSOC. Thank you for providing this powerful platform for everybody here to share their voice. And to Gespatial, thank you so much for allowing me to share this piece and contribute to this important conversation, because it's a privilege to be part of this movement for everyone in this room, and I'm excited to continue working alongside all of you. Thank you.
That was beautiful. It's really incredible to see this list of youth from all over the world. All these different countries. Up next, we have Ande Ajmara. Are you here? Ande Ajmara from Dynamic Team Coalition. Hannah Jaydeep Shah. Hannah Jaydeep Shah, are you here? All right, we're going to keep going down the list. Sydney Abitakia. I know there's a line of like 100 people outside who are wanting to come in here, so they might not have made it in. Rahman Hassan. Rahman Hassan, are you here? Jacqueline Wing Yan Chu.
Give me one sec, I think there's a bit of a technical issue here. Sorry, I'm having issues Fixing a little glitch. 1 moment. Can you sorry, from I'm giving it half hour. I think we did it. Okay, we're gonna hold Jocelyn's performance. I'm gonna keep going down the list and see who's next. Gloria Lee, right here. Gloria Lee. Chloe Williams. Chloe Williams, are you here? Alright. Raphael Ketchy. What? Hi everyone. Hi, get a hi everybody. I guess there's a lot of chit chat going on. So I just request that if somebody is performing, we can stay quiet for that while. And after that, we can really continue. Is that okay? Sounds good? Good. So, So a little introduction about myself. I'm Sohan, I'm from India. I'm representing my organizations here, Cyberport Foundation and Project Green Garbage. Cyberport is something that works with cybersecurity awareness, Project Green Garbage about environmental sustainability, but these are two different parts of my personality. I'm also a writer and a shire. So I've written a book which is about taking care of your mental health because I'm also a psychology major. So here I go. I know. You wonder why I cry in silence. You wonder why I run away from feelings. Constant feeling glimmering haunting. I'm scared to unleash myself. Frosted in the society's net, I wonder where is the space to be myself. The boundaries, the personality. Oh, I realize that apart from normality, I don't care. Still no place to be yourself with. Life's chapters have turned to an anthology. Again, the space to be me is unforeseen. Oh, I know again. Introspecting within every stage. Trying to learn the self-awareness that needs to come. Pushing boundaries and yearning to change freedom. For that, existence should say, you're free. I wonder if that's a mystery. But wandering within and deep within, I realize it's somehow not about them, but me. It's somehow not about they care, but I care. It's somehow I choose them, not myself. It's somehow their mental pressure and not my mental health. Oh, I look fine in time. Well, I wonder, even if it's the last time, for that the time, the life, the feelings are all mine. For that the universal truth is that my mental health is all mine. For that I know, my mental health is my right. For that now, it's only for me to live myself now. For that now it's for me to know who I am. For that now it's time for me to validate whoever I am. Thank you. Okay, so just like I want to be like three shiny. Anybody who understands between Hindu or Persian? Any English people here? Oh my! So okay, so I just do some shiny for the people who understand Hindi would be able to pick up to it. So माना करती मेरी थी तुम समझ भी हो सकते थे मैंने नहीं रहना तुम और मैं हम भी हो सकते थे Thank you. That's it, Omar. Good morning, everyone! Your attention, please. We have speakers in here, and we need to give them some attention. They worked really hard to compete today here on stage. Let's give them the respect they earned and they're going to earn. Please welcome on stage, Sophia Steele. Thank you. Thank you guys. I do stand-up comedy. If anyone, I want to see the room. If anyone wants to see a person like me do stand-up comedy, if you do, please applaud. If we can slow the volume a little, I would appreciate that. There is a mentally ill woman speaking. All right. Well, my name is Sophie. I'm a political scientist, or what my mom likes to call almost a lawyer. Yeah. I like to write articles, But I like to do stand-up, but, it's a recession indicator. When someone like me starts following their dreams, you should be worried. I don't know. I have a story about how my dad faked his death, if you guys want to know. Yeah! How if you want to know? All right, perfect. Yeah, we feel the energy. I love this. This is crazy. Okay, so story goes. I've been estranged from my father for many, many years now. And a year and a half ago, I found out he passed away. And I grieved accordingly. I posted a story on Instagram. IRP Dad, you were biological, I guess. And things seemed pretty fishy, That's until I met up with my estranged aunt, who was also very estranged.